I've always prided myself on being independent, the kind of person who doesn't need constant company to feel at ease. At 20, I'm no stranger to staying home alone, especially now that my parents have left for their yearly weekend retreat to the lake house. This old Victorian with its too many rooms and drafty hallways has never unsettled me before. I've always liked the quiet, the way the silence wraps around me like a familiar blanket. But tonight feels different. It starts with the wind, a low, persistent whine slipping through the cracks in the window frames, like something pressing against the glass from the outside. I pull my knees to my chest on the couch, laptop glowing in the dim light, trying to ignore the way the shadows in the corners of the room seem to shift when I'm not looking. It's just a storm, I tell myself. Then comes the scratching. At first, I dismiss it as the willow branches scraping against the siding. But the sound is too deliberate, too rhythmic, almost like fingers dragging slowly across wood. I pause my movie, holding my breath, silence, then scritch, 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 directly beneath the floorboards under my feet. I sit rigid on the couch, fingers gripping the edges of my laptop as I strain to listen. The scratching stops as suddenly as it started, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than before. I swallow hard, trying to convince myself that old houses make noises, that the wind can sound like whispering, that pipes can knock in strange rhythms. But the explanations ring hollow in my mind. I turn the movie volume up louder, letting the dialogue drown out the pounding of my own heart. The flickering light from the screen stretches shadows across the walls, making the familiar room feel foreign and threatening. Every creak of the house settling makes my shoulders tense, my breath catching in my throat. When my phone buzzes with Jenna's text, I nearly jump out of my skin. The vibration against my thighs sends a jolt of adrenaline through me, and I fumble to pick it up. My fingers tremble as I type out a reply, trying to sound casual despite the way my pulse roars in my ears. Yeah, just watching something. The house is being weird tonight, though. The moment I hit send, a sharp thud echoes from upstairs, distinct, deliberate, like something heavy being dropped. My head snaps toward the staircase, my body going cold. That wasn't the wind. That wasn't the house settling. That was movement. I sit frozen, waiting, praying the sound won't come again. But the silence that follows is worse. It's the kind of silence that feels like being watched, like the air itself is holding its breath. I force myself to stand, legs unsteady beneath me. I need to check. I need to prove to myself there's nothing there. The first step toward the stairs sends a fresh wave of dread through me. The wood groans under my weight, the sound too loud in the stillness. I grip the banister, my palms slick with sweat, and force myself to climb. Halfway up, the temperature drops. A sudden, biting cold seeps into my skin, raising goosebumps along my arms. I pause, my breath visible in the air, and that's when I hear it. A faint, wet sound like something dragging itself across the floor above me. My stomach twists. I should turn back. I should run. But my feet carry me forward, step after agonizing step, until I reach the top of the stairs. The hallway stretches before me, doors to each room close tight. All except one. My parents' bedroom door stands slightly open, the darkness beyond it impenetrable. I know I closed it this morning. A floorboard creaks behind me. I whirl around, my heart slamming against my ribs. The hallway is empty, but the air has changed. The silence has shifted. Something's in the house with me, and it's playing a game. My pulse hammers in my throat as I stand frozen in the hallway, the fireplace poker clutched in my sweating hands. Every instinct screams at me to run, to flee the house and never look back, but my legs refuse to obey. The silence after the creaking floorboard is worse than the sound itself, thick and heavy, pressing against my eardrums like a physical weight. I force myself to move, creeping toward my parents' bedroom with slow, measured steps. The door sways slightly ajar, just enough to suggest movement, though no draft touches the air. The darkness beyond the threshold seems unnatural, swallowing the faint moonlight that should filter through the curtains. My fingers tremble as I reach for the door, pushing it open with a quiet creak. The room smells wrong, stale, metallic, like old pennies left too long in the sun. The bed is neatly made, just as I left it. But something about the space feels violated, as if unseen hands have rifled through every drawer and left everything just slightly out of place. I flick the light switch. The bulb sputters, casting erratic shadows across the walls before plunging the room back into darkness. But in that brief flash of light, I see it. A hunched figure in the far corner, limbs too long, posture all wrong. It isn't standing. It isn't crouching. It's folded, bent in ways that make my stomach twist. Then the darkness swallows it again. I stumble backward, breath coming in ragged gasps. I want to scream, to call for help, but my voice is withered in my throat. The air grows colder, so cold my teeth chatter, and the scent of damp earth fills my nose, thick and cloying. I turn and bolt for the stairs, my socked feet slipping on the hardwood. Behind me something shifts, a wet dragging sound like flesh peeling away from bone. I don't dare look back. Downstairs, the living room is just as I left it, movie still paused, blanket crumpled on the couch. The normalcy of it makes me want to sob. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Then the scratching starts again, not in the walls this time, not under the floor, but inside the couch, right beneath where I've been sitting. My hands shake as I grab my phone, fingers fumbling over the screen. I need to call someone, anyone. But the screen flickers, the battery icon blinking red before the device goes black. And from the hallway upstairs, a floorboard groans. Something is coming down. My bare feet slap against rain-slick grass as I sprint across the backyard, lungs burning with each panicked breath. The storm has reached its peak now, wind howling through the trees like a chorus of anguished voices, rain stinging my face like icy needles. I don't dare look back at the house, but I can feel its presence looming behind me. Windows like dark, watching eyes. Mr. Whitaker's porch light flickers weakly through the downpour, a beacon of false safety. I stumble up the steps, fingers slipping on the wet door handle as I pound against the wood with both fists. The sound is swallowed by the storm, my desperate knocking barely audible over the thunder. Through the rain-streaked window, I see the blue glow of the television in the living room, casting shifting shadows across the empty armchair. The sight should comfort me, proof of normalcy, of life continuing as usual just beyond this door. But the longer I stare, the more wrong it feels. The TV show's only static now, the sound turned up painfully loud, a relentless white noise that vibrates through the glass. Then movement, slow shuffling steps from the hallway. Mr. Whitaker emerges into the flickering light, his normally crisp pajamas rumpled, his posture unnaturally stiff. My relief dies in my throat when I see his face. His features are slack, mouth slightly open, but his eyes are wrong. Not just unfocused, but entirely black, glossy like wet stones catching moonlight. He turns his head toward the door with mechanical precision, and when his lips stretch into a smile, I see his teeth are too sharp, too many. The expression doesn't reach those dead eyes. A choked scream escapes me as I stumble backward, my heel catching on the top step. The fall happens in slow motion. The sickening lurch in my stomach, the world tilting, the back of my head connecting with the edge of a step before I tumble into the mud. Rain pours into my eyes, my mouth, the cold shock of it momentarily paralyzing. When I manage to push myself up on shaking arms, I see Mr. Whitaker standing perfectly still in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the static-lit interior. The wind carries his voice to me, though his lips never move. The words aren't spoken so much as pressed directly into my mind, each syllable dripping with terrible amusement. You shouldn't have looked. I scramble to my feet, slipping in the mud as I turn back toward my house. The distance between the properties has never seemed so vast. Every shadow between the trees seems to shift as I run, every rustle of leaves sounding like pursuing footsteps. The back door stands open. I don't remember leaving it that way, and as I cross the threshold, it slams shut behind me with enough force to rattle the windows. The silence inside is absolute. No wind, no rain. Even my own ragged breathing seems muffled, as if the house itself is holding its breath. The kitchen clock has stopped, the second hand trembling between 3:17 and 3:18. A single drop of water falls from my soaked hair onto the linoleum, the sound impossibly loud in the stillness. Then, from upstairs, a familiar creak. The sound of weight on the third step from the top. The one that always groans underfoot. Something is coming back down. I stand frozen in the kitchen, body trembling as water drips from my clothes onto the tile floor. The house has gone unnaturally still, the kind of silence that presses against my eardrums like a physical weight. I know I should move, should run, but my legs refuse to obey. The police. I need to call the police. My phone lies abandoned on the coffee table where I left it. I force myself forward, each step sending fresh waves of panic through me as the floorboards creak beneath me. The screen lights up at my touch, the battery icon blinking red, 15% remaining. My fingers shake as I dial 911, the electronic ringing tone absurdly loud in the suffocating quiet. A dispatcher answers, her voice calm and professional. I try to speak, but my throat has closed up, my words coming out in a strangled whisper. There's someone in my house. I think they hurt my neighbor. The woman on the other end asks questions. My address, am I safe? Can I get somewhere secure? But I barely process them. Because as she speaks, another sound cuts through the line. A wet clicking noise like fingers dragging across a moist surface. It isn't coming from the house. It's coming from the phone itself. I pull the device away from my ear, staring at the screen. The call timer continues counting upward, but the voice has changed. No longer the crisp professionalism of emergency services, but something guttural, whispering words that make no sense yet fill me with primal terror. The battery percentage drops before my eyes. 10%, 7%, 3% as the voice grows louder, more insistent. I throw the phone onto the couch as if burned, watching as the screen flickers and dies. The room plunges into darkness again, save for the faint glow of the paused movie still casting shifting shadows across the walls. Then I smell it, copper and rot, so thick I can taste it at the back of my throat. The scent comes from upstairs, seeping down the staircase like a physical presence. My stomach heaves, but I swallow back the bile rising in my throat. I need proof. I need something to show the police when they arrive. My parents' bedroom door stands slightly ajar just as I left it. The smell intensifies as I approach, making my eyes water. I push the door open fully, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The room looks normal at first glance, bed neatly made, curtains drawn, everything in its place. Then I see the closet door. It stands open just a crack, though I know I closed it this morning. Something dark and viscous seeps from beneath it, spreading slowly across the hardwood. My pulse pounds in my ears as I reach for the closet knob, fingers slick with sweat. The moment I touch it, the door swings inward with a groan, revealing nothing. Just my mother's hanging dresses, a row of shoeboxes on the top shelf. The floor is clean, no sign of the dark liquid I saw moments before. I let out a shuddering breath, my knees threatening to give way. Maybe I imagined it. Then I see the note. It lies on my pillow, a single sheet of notebook paper, folded neatly in half. My hands shake as I pick it up, unfolding it to reveal 3 words written in familiar, looping script. I've always been here. My own handwriting, the realization hits me like a physical blow. I recognize the curve of the letters, the way my E's always tilt slightly to the left. But I didn't write this. I would remember writing this. From downstairs, the sound of breaking glass. The police. It has to be the police. I run for the stairs, hope flaring in my chest, only to skid to a stop at the top step. The front door stands undisturbed, the lock still engaged. But in the living room below, the TV has turned itself on, the screen-filled rolling static. And sitting on the coffee table, positioned carefully next to my dead phone, is a single Polaroid photograph. Even from this distance, I can see what it depicts, me, asleep in my bed, taken last night.